further ado, the Ohio Mock Trial 2021 virtual competition format. Let's dive right in. So a couple of reminders before we get into the actual discussion of today's virtual format presentation. We are not taking questions at this time. And again, that's not because we don't want to hear your questions. It's because we want to make sure that we're able to answer them in the most comprehensive way possible and make sure that we are giving you accurate and clear information. So the way we will collect that is through a survey that will be sent out to all mock trial participants. So please monitor your email for that survey. We send it through SurveyMonkey. So that will be the place to put all of your questions or feedback regarding the virtual format. We have tried really hard to be as thorough in the presentation of this as we can be, but we also recognize that there are things that are realities in your classroom or in your coaching that we may not have thought of. So we do encourage you to take some time, sit with the information, talk it over, and then fill out that survey. There will also be a more detailed document outlining the virtual competition coming your way. So I will send that in the email where I send the case file, and it will also be made available on our website. I'm going to hit the highlights of everything today, but it will be more thoroughly spelled out in this document that's forthcoming. So in addition to today's presentation, please take some time, read through the document, and sit with it for a little bit. We know it's a lot, so we want to make sure you have time to talk with your students, talk to your administration, and formulate your questions, because only advisors are permitted to submit the feedback to us using the survey. So please take some time to talk to anybody else that would be impacted by this. And my last caveat before we begin is that the following information is complete to the best of our knowledge and capacity at this moment. All rules, dates, deadlines, and procedures are subject to change based on new information, changing guidelines, or other concerns. We will always notify you and update you all through email and through our website if any changes happen or if any new information becomes available. So thank you.
That's kind of like a good, important point for us to hit at this moment. We know that in any year, right, communication can sometimes be difficult. People might miss emails, or maybe you're not checking the website as frequently. Our goal really is to keep you as informed as we possibly can, recognizing that you've got a lot of uncertainty in your lives right now, as we all do, particularly with, the schools making different decisions, closing, opening. So we want to be as thorough and as transparent as we can be with all of you. And so for that reason, it's really critical that we pay close attention to the dates and deadlines that are set forth. Make sure you're checking your email regularly. And, when we say, for example, we're sending out that survey, we really, truly do want feedback. The reason we're putting it in the survey format is that SurveyMonkey allows us to do some data analysis, so we can see what are the points we have to resolve first. It helps us to organize the feedback in a more coherent fashion. And it also allows us to have really meaningful conversations with our partners in different states who are also struggling with these same issues right now. So please, keep the lines of communication open. That's really what we're here for. And our goal really is to, provide as much information as possible to remove the uncertainty that, inevitably comes with a very unusual year.
Yes, thank you for that point of clarification, Ryan. It is really important, and know that we will be communicating with you. So check your emails and check our website. We'll be updating it as frequently as we can. Okay, so moving on, just a brief overview. So most of this information we've already shared, or all of this information we've already shared on our website, but just to do a quick overview, we are going to have the district and regional competitions take place online using Zoom. We have made the decision to have a maximum of 3 teams per school for this competition. And this is a change from how we would normally have done it, but we have spread the competition out over multiple days just to accommodate for the large number of teams and the volunteer capacity that this will take. So instead of all taking place on the same day, we had districts broken down to Friday, January 22nd, Saturday, January 23rd. This is a change from previous communications, Thursday, January 28th. It previously said the 29th, but we have a different event on that day. So Thursday, January 28th is a new date. and then Saturday, January 30th. So those are the 4 days on which the district competition will take place. And then regionals will take place over 2 days. So Friday, February 19th and Saturday, February 20th. That's the information on our website, and with the exception of the Thursday, January 28th being an update. We have not yet made a decision regarding the state competition, and we will be making that decision this winter, so stay tuned for that announcement. We are just waiting on anything that changes and additional guidance from government and health officials. So stay tuned for any information regarding the in-person or online nature of the state competition. Okay. So the highlights, again, I'm gonna give you a document that has the more detailed explanation of all of this, but I'm trying to hit some of the highlights here just to give you a heads up to what's coming. So as we already mentioned during our summary of the rule changes, in instances of conflict with the rules, the 2021 virtual competition rules will prevail. So if there is a conflict between what's in the case file and the virtual competition rules, know that the virtual competition prevails. In situations where the virtual rules do not cover something, then the standard rules will prevail. And this is all spelled out for you in the document forthcoming. Trials will take place using Zoom as it is most conducive to our needs. We know that not every school utilizes Zoom, and we will address that, and we have that spelled out more in the document, but we will be using Zoom because it just allows us the most capability given the format that we have to run. Further guidance, instructions, and reminders will be sent prior to the competition. So that, again, please monitor communication from us because we will be sending out this information once we've had time to process all of the feedback and respond to it. We will send out further guidance. We will utilize breakout rooms for each trial, which is how we ran the conference today. And as we all saw, there are some technical issues that can pop up with that, but we will do our best to work through them. And there's guidance on how to minimize those technical issues in the document that I will send. So keep an eye out for that. And in these breakout rooms, we will be using facilitators to run and monitor the trials. And the facilitators are going to be the contact. So they will contact OCLRE if/as needed. Again, that's more spelled out in the document that you will have coming your way. Okay. So teams will still compete in 2 trials presenting both sides of the case. That has not changed. The structure will be the same in terms of presenting one side and then switching and presenting the other side. Each trial, including the scoring and judge comments, still must fit within that 2-hour time limit. That has not changed. Judges will complete score sheets electronically. So this is an update. Obviously, they've had the hard copy where you would get carbon copies in the past, but knowing that we'll be doing this virtually, we will have them completed electronically. We're still figuring out the best form for that electronic score sheet to take, but we will have the score sheet submitted to OCLRE, and we will provide those to advisors after the competition. We will try to do it as soon as possible, but no later than 7 days after your team competes. So you will have access to the score sheets that the judges complete. Even though it's not a carbon copy, you'll get a digital copy. Because the score sheets are completed electronically and the results will come to OCLRE, OCLRE will be announcing the advancing teams and the Outstanding Attorney Witness Awards at the conclusion of each competition day. So this is a change from how it has been done in the past, just given that they won't be able to collaborate in person on calculating attorney witness awards. OCLRE will take those score sheets and determine the Outstanding Attorney Witness Award for the trials, and we will just list all of those winners during the video where we announce advancing teams. So that will happen at the conclusion of the competition days. And Brian, please feel free to interject if I'm skipping over anything. Okay, so technical difficulties, because I know this is on everybody's mind as it is on ours. They will be addressed if or when they arise. It's inevitable. Technology doesn't always work when you want it to, so we will address those as they come up. The important thing to know is that for advisors, especially at the beginning phase when you're just trying to get into your meeting or trying to get started with the trial, The facilitator assigned to your trial is going to be your first point of contact advisor. So you will contact the facilitator, and then they will contact auxiliary if as needed. It's a little bit different for students. So this is really once you're in the trial and the trial is going. If a technical issue arises from a student who is participating in the trial, they need to contact their timekeeper or bailiff. So the timekeeper bailiff is going to have an added role this year because they have to be the point of contact for any students having issues, experiencing technical issues, because then the timekeeper bailiff will bring that to the attention of the judges. And as a result, the clock will stop so we can troubleshoot issues. Just like it stops for objections, we'll do the same thing for troubleshooting technology issues, but that issue has to be raised by the timekeeper bailiff so the judges know that it's happening. And once they've notified the presiding judge, at that point, the team advisor can step in to assist with technology, but only technology, and we'll go over additional guidance for that as we get closer to the competition. But that is important to remember, that rules regarding any communication between advisors and their teams, it still applies in this format. And we will, as a result, we will disable the chat feature during the trial, so there will not be able to have communication using the chat feature during any of the trials.
And as a quick note on tech, right, as Danielle mentioned this morning, for example, right, we saw that we had some tech issues and we were able to work some of those out with individual attendees. But there are things that you can do in advance to prevent some of these tech issues from coming. And as we learn more about this, we're going to keep on pushing that information out. We do plan to schedule practice sessions where teams can actually log in and practice, so they can make sure that they're connecting with the device they intend to use. So we're going to be setting up as much as we can in advance to make this where you have less uncertainty on the day, right? We're also going to be holding some live chat sessions where OCLRE staff will be providing updates as they come up, just so we can make sure that everyone has the most up-to-date information. So essentially plan that throughout the month of December and into early January, you'll be sent links where your students and you can attend a practice session, and we'll move you into breakout rooms, do all of that. And we encourage you to do that multiple times. So don't hesitate to attend more than one practice session just to get all of your students up to speed.
I'll go over the practice sessions a little bit later. And again, that'll be in the document, but those you will have to register for. You can do it even up to an hour before. It's just so we can have a list of who we need to admit to the meeting, because there are security protocols we have to follow on Zoom. So we'll get into that a little bit more. Okay, so this is what we were just talking about, segued exactly into my next slide. So practicing with technology is really critical, because even with practice and testing, there are going to be technical issues, but the more you practice with the devices you're planned to use, the less issues you'll run into. So definitely test the devices before use in the competition, and verify that breakout room capabilities work with the device you'll be using. So as Ryan mentioned, there were some issues this morning, and some of that is inevitable. It's just Zoom glitches, and some of that is the format in which you're accessing Zoom. So we found that web browsers are not as capable with breakout rooms as the application is. So all of these are important to practice with and try prior to participating in the competition. And it's really important that you use the same devices that you will use on competition day. So even if you have to have a backup that you want to test, just make sure all devices that you could possibly use on that competition day have been vetted to make sure that they work with the necessary technology. And as Ryan said, we'll offer practice sessions for that, the details of which are explained a little bit more in the document I'll send out. So go ahead, Ryan.
Some teams have different limitations in place than others, right? In some areas of the state where, potentially the infection rate is lower, people are able to be together in person, and their schools are choosing to do that, and their team wants to do that. We're leaving that up to the individual teams and, their county's health guidelines and the advisors and the parents. So, if you decide that your team wants to be all together in one room on one device, that's fine, right? As long as you can run the trial without any interruptions or any difficulties, you can do that. But if that's the case, then we strongly encourage that for that practice session, that's how you practice. We had some experience with this in the over the past year, where the national We the People competition and showcase was online, and you'd be amazed at the number of teams that practiced on devices other than the ones they tried to use on the day, and those were the teams that ended up having problems. So it really is critical. We're going to say this so many times, that whatever setup you want to use, test it out, practice it with us, and stick to that format for the day of.
Yes, that's really important. And I have a couple of notes on that below. So while Zoom is required, the devices and other equipment you use is up to the team. So as Ryan mentioned, you can do one device for the whole classroom if you are able and you have permission and you choose and everyone's comfortable with doing it in person. You can do that. Just as Ryan mentioned, test it out. A couple of notes. Chromebooks have proven really problematic with Zoom. We recognize that a lot of schools have those to use. So it may end up that the student, if a Chromebook is their only option, sometimes audio might be better if you call in and then mute your camera and you have the camera on you. It's just all of those things that you can figure out during the practice sessions, but just know that Chromebooks, we have noticed, have had glitches when it comes to interacting with Zoom. As I mentioned previously, the Zoom app functions better than the web version. So this is a little bit of an annoying thing that Zoom does. They don't always notify you. It depends on your device, but they don't notify when updates happen for Zoom. So if you have the app, just make sure you check it prior to the competition and throughout practice, before practices, to make sure you have the most recent version of the Zoom app. And we do encourage, if you're able to, downloading the app rather than using the web version. It just has more functionality and plays nicer with the format. So,
and actually, as of today, we were able to verify that the browser will not connect to breakout rooms. So we had multiple attendees at the conference today who were not able to get into sessions because of the browser. So it's going to have to be via the app.
Thank you. So I knew that it was problematic. I didn't know that it flat out didn't work. So that is helpful information.
Yeah, it depends on what version of the browser the attendee has. But then even some browsers just don't work at all. And that's just not a risk I would take if I was trying to bring a team into competition.
Absolutely. And testing, and practicing is all going to be your friend before this. So a couple of these are more housekeeping matters, but photo releases are required to participate. They're always required at the state level of competition because that's where OCLRE is in person and oversees the event. We've always encouraged them at districts and regionals, but now that we are going to be using a video chat format, we have to have photo releases turned in to participate. Parents can still check no, but they have to be turned in. If there is no photo release, that student will not be allowed to participate in the competition. So do check your case file when you get it, and the virtual competition guide, when I send that out, check that for the deadline. It's all spelled out in there for you, but photo releases are going to be very important. So we recognize that that may be hounding parents a little bit more, but just given the virtual nature, we have to have those forms turned in. No spectators will be permitted in the Zoom meetings. Only registered participants will be admitted. So that actually includes team advisors and legal advisors. So on the roster, we've always had a location where you can add legal advisors. It's really crucial that you do that if they plan on showing up in the Zoom meeting, because we will only admit people into the Zoom meeting who are on your roster. If their name does not appear on the roster, they will not be admitted into the meeting. So spectators will not be allowed to join. This is spelled out more, but they will have access to a recording if your trial agrees to be recorded. That follows all of the standard rules of getting permission from both teams and the presiding judge. So if everybody is in agreement and you're allowed to record, you may do so and provide that to spectators. But again, that follows the standard rules, and we will not admit them into the actual meeting. So teams can choose their district date on a space available basis in order of registration. So we've already shared this on our website, but I just want to make sure I clarify what this means. So districts only, they can choose which day to participate. So we have 4 days that districts will take place. Those dates are not guaranteed. We reserve the right to cancel them if there's not enough registrants on one day, or teams, volunteers, whatever situation arises, we do reserve the right to remove that date. So just be aware of that. Remember that there's a maximum of 3 teams per school. That is a definite difference than how we've done it in the in-person competition, but just given the number of volunteers and time that it takes, 3 teams is the maximum we can have from any one school. With that being said, teams from the same school may be required to compete on different days. Again, registration is first come, first serve. So if you sign up and that date is full, you may have to have a team go on 2 different dates. If there's 1 space on 2 days, but not 2 spaces on 1 day, you're gonna have to have your teams participate on 2 different days. And just to clarify that, team registration is per team, so each team is gonna need their own registration. Teams may be asked to double if as needed. That is not a change from how we've done it in person. It still may happen. If there's an uneven number of teams, then we're gonna have to find a way to balance that, so we may need to double if that situation arises. Okay, so that was for the district competition, and regionals will be assigned. So teams do not get to choose their regional date. We will assign you to either Friday the 19th of February or Saturday the 20th of February, and we will let you know in advance. Again, all of these dates are in the virtual guide. We'll let you know in advance of the regional competition which date you will be assigned to. Team registration will open on Wednesday, October 14th. So I know I've had a couple of questions come in about this already through email before the conference, and just know this will go on the website as well. Team registration is intentionally delayed. That's 2 weeks from today. And the reason for that is we really, really want you all to talk with your students and talk with your administration before registering, because we know the situation right now is up in the air for a lot of people. It's constantly changing. This is a big change from how we've run the competition in the past. So please take some time, digest the guidelines that we give you, talk it over, and then decide if you do want to register, how many teams you want to register, and that will be made available to every mock trial participant on Wednesday, October 14th. Again, stay tuned on our website and through email for a notification when registration goes live. At all levels of competition, the team pairings will be made without regard to geographic region. This is a big change from how we've done it before, and I feel like I'm going to say that phrase a lot, but this is a unique time, so we've had to adjust accordingly. We know that we've had people competing in their home or nearly to their home county in person, but we don't have the capability to do that same structure when we do this online, especially given the number of days that there are going to be competition days. So all levels of competition, it will be made without regard to geographic region. So you could be paired against a team from anywhere throughout the state. And then per competition rule, for a 4 at the district level, teams will be matched at random, with the exception that schools with a total of 2 teams shall not be paired against themselves. So that's the same as the updated rule I gave you during the summary of rule changes, but just know that that's at the district level. And schools fielding 3 teams will still be paired completely at random with no protection preventing teams from playing the same school. Wow, teams from the same school playing each other. And at regionals, all teams will be paired at random with no protection. So know that at the district level, schools with 2 teams will not be paired against each other. 3 is totally random. And regionals, the same thing, totally random. Okay. This is not a change, so this is the exact language from the case file, but no requests for pairings or side playing first will be accepted at any level of competition. We will be doing it at random, and we will notify you, just like we have in the past, in advance of the competition, which side your team will be presenting first. Team advancement is also the same as it has been in the years past, where teams winning both trials at districts will advance to regionals. Teams winning both trials at regionals will advance to states. So that's the same situation as it's always been. Please, please, please review your case file for a list of important dates and deadlines. We have it at the front of the case. We have it throughout the rules. We'll have it on our website, but it's always critical that you familiarize yourself with these dates, but even more so now, given how tied to the dates we are given technology and all of the changing formats. It's really, really important that you pay attention and get all the information turned into us in a timely fashion so that we can make this competition run as smoothly as possible. And to reiterate what I've already said several times, please monitor your email and the mock trial website for updates, because we will post additional information as it becomes available. So those are going to be your friend. We will always email with updated information, and we will put it on our website as well. We also try to use our social media to notify everybody to check out our website. So we try to let you know through as many channels as we have available to us. But this year in particular, I anticipate that there will be more communication, because we are doing our best to adjust to the situations as the situation changes, as Zoom necessitates, and all of those things. We will be in touch as often as we know of more information. Okay, Brian, do you have anything that you want to interject, or do you want me to go back to any slides?
Just a couple of things, I guess, as we said, to be as transparent as possible with some of these changes and the reason why we've had to make these. We know that some of these limitations and some of the changes are going to impact you and your students, right? We really labored hard over these rules in this format to have as little impact as possible, given all of the constraints. So there are certainly things you can do to lessen the impact. For example, we know that the 3 teams per school limitation certainly imposes a challenge for some of our schools who field more teams. But just as in many other competitions, we encourage you to still recruit as many students as you would normally have, and simply hold internal scrimmages or even external scrimmages with others in the program to help you pare down the 3 teams that you send forward into competition. Even though we can't be together in person, we'll certainly still keep that scrimmage list that we usually have. So you will still receive the emails of other advisors willing to scrimmage teams if you sign up for that. So, that's certainly a way to give your students a chance to still practice, still present the case in as realistic a format as possible, and then choose which students you come forward with into the actual competition. The other big thing to know is, as we said, multiple times, the dates, deadlines, and requirements really, really are rock solid this year. We always do everything we can to accommodate students and teams and just knowing the different circumstances. But because of all the moving pieces that this requires this year, we have to be very, very firm in those dates and deadlines. So for example, if a team is not on time for a trial, we can't make accommodations. The sheer size of this really is dramatically different from, even our other state partners. We've said before that we're the 2nd largest mock trial program in the country. And just to give you some perspective on this, the number of volunteers that we need on each of these days is around 420 judges to actually make this possible on each of those competition days, which is just an unfathomable number realistically. So, these restrictions and rules are in place to make this possible for our students. We're trying to give you as much advance notice as possible about all of these. We will certainly update you the moment that we can on any changes that might arise. And we simply ask for patience and grace and participation, to make sure that we can make this possible for our students. The other reminder I would say too is, as we mentioned, we want to give you time to kind of live with these rules for a second, talk them over with your students, think about what all of the problems might be. We know that we have not thought of every single eventuality, and so your feedback is really going to help us to think these through and improve the rules. If you have opted out of our surveys on SurveyMonkey, and you know that you've done that, please notify us, and we can find a way to get around that, because the survey really is the way we have to collect all this information. Otherwise, Danielle could have upwards of 200 people emailing her random thoughts that she has to collect, right? So the survey really makes sure that your thoughts and that your comments are counted. So let us know if you have opted out of those surveys, and we'll make sure you get the link to fill it out a different way. And so then on that, I guess too, you should know that that survey is going to be sent out on Friday. So, Danielle is not going to take any questions via email on this, and all the information will be collected on Friday when that survey goes out to you.
Thank you, Ryan. we're ending significantly early today, but before I officially conclude, let me stop sharing. You don't need to stare at thank you forever. Before I officially conclude, I just want to thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day, and I know that I have Zoom fatigue, and I'm sure all of you more than I do have Zoom fatigue. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And as just to reiterate what Ryan said and what I've already said, we really value and want your feedback. It will help us make this as successful as possible. So please take some time, digest it. I have all of the information coming to you. So by the end of this week, you will have had the information and you'll have the survey, and we want to hear from you. So please take some time with it. We know it's a big change. It's a big change for us as well. And we want to make sure that we can run this as smoothly as possible for everybody.